In. Hey there. Woo, my goodness. I had to come back on tonight to talk about the latest shenanigans and more importantly, to talk about what we're going to do about it. Come on in. Let's talk about what is on deck. Listen, you all, red alert. We are 48 hours. We are a little bit less than, I guess, a little bit more than 48 hours. Well, less than 72 hours, more than 48 hours. Okay. Away from um, you know, what will happen on Monday. But the shenanigans aren't waiting for that, are they? Okay. The shenanigans are not waiting for that formal change. It's moving forward right now. Okay. So as you come into the room, I am going to ask that you share this stream. If you're in a position to share this stream, I'm going to ask you to share this stream because it's very important that we know what's going on and it's very important that we develop a plan to fight it. And I'll just stay here right at the top. That's exactly why. And literally exactly a week from Monday, a week after Beelzebub takes office, okay, I'll be holding my own event, okay, and I want to invite you to it. All you have to do is go to evolutionrevolution2025.com and you can sign up and join me there. I'll tell you more about that later, but just know this is not a normal set of circumstances, particularly if you are a Black entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur of color, if you are a woman, okay? This is not a normal moment for you. This is a moment where we are going to have to fight not just the economy, but we're going to have to fight an increasingly hostile culture that is all about pulling back opportunities that, and I would have to say, I obviously take very personally. How you do, D? I believe a lot of this is focused on, okay, undoing the economic empowerment of the Black middle class and beyond. They coming after your money. They coming after your money. Hey there, Myoshia. Hey there, girl. I'm glad you made it back safely. I hate I missed you the other day. But that's why we need to come together now. Listen, if you are connected with me in any way, hey there, girl. Be that on LinkedIn, be that on my email list, be that on he who shall be named, the other he who shall not be named, Zuckerberg's platforms, Meta, as well as Instagram, which I am using it right now. I'm leveraging it while I can, while I'm looking at other options. But I will say this, I shared something this morning that got a lot of attention. So I really want to start off talking about this and why I see this as a particular moment in which we are experiencing a cataclysmic cultural shift that is akin to a Jim Crow 2.0. All right. Now, give me a second. If you are watching me, unfortunately, Instagram, you guys are not going to be able to see this because I'm not using StreamYard for you guys. Y'all are directly on my cell phone. And I will say, I am on Fanbase, and I tried to go live on Fanbase yesterday, and I was unsuccessful. So if there's somebody that is a Fanbase aficionado and can share with me what I may have been doing wrong, please let me know. But I could not make that work. Okay. Anywho, so because of that, Instagram, you are on my cell phone. Everybody else, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So you all probably saw me distribute this earlier today. It's a news report. We already found out the other day, about a week ago, that Meta was in its DEI programs. And when they announced that, I warned you all then that this, as it relates to not only Meta, but all the other places that have done it, I could go down the list. There are a number of them. It doesn't just affect you if you are a DE&I professional. They're not just talking about DE&I training, you guys. They aren't. They're talking about contracting opportunities. They're talking about employment opportunities. They're talking about the whole nine, okay? And just as predicted, this particular article talks about employment opportunities. Look at how bold and brazen they are, okay? Now, let's look at the little subtitle. It looks like they've updated this from what I sent you guys earlier this morning. It says, among the changes, Meta is ending the company's diverse slate approach of considering qualified candidates from underrepresented groups for its open roles. Let me say that again. Meta is ending not only its DE&I programs as it relates to trainings and things like that, but it's also ending its approach, diverse slate approach of considering qualified candidates from underrepresented groups for its open roles. So it's saying that this is like the return of the white primary. Yeah, I said it. This is like the return of the white primary, except now we're talking about employment opportunities. And very good, 10-second history lesson. Okay, the white primary was in the Reconstruction era. Let's see. I don't know if you follow me on, I'm sorry, Instagram, who I tell you what, I will look to put it, you should, if you have stuff there, I guess I can inbox me and I'll give you the link. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram, on LinkedIn or Facebook, or if you're on my email list, you guys have already seen this because I distributed this morning. But if you're on Instagram and you're not connected with me in any of those places, inbox me and I'll send you the link, no problem. Okay. Now, let me give you an example of why I believe this is Jim Crow 2.0 and the analogy that I'm making between this and white primaries. You're welcome. No problem. So here, you might recall that in the era of Reconstruction, which as I went through a few days back when I went live here, I talked about the history of how we fought for our freedom in the Civil War. We literally turned the tides of the Civil War in favor of the Union. There would be no United States of America if it were not for Black soldiers. Let's just start there. Let's just start there. You are welcome. There would be no United States of America. I mean, let's just, we can even go back even before that. Obviously, there would be no United States of America because who built the shit? There would be no White House. Okay. There would be so many things just would not exist if not for the centuries of free labor that this nation got, not to mention the huge economic boom that it was able to take advantage of because of the free labor. But even beyond that, there would not be any United States of America if Black soldiers did not enter the Civil War to fight for their freedom on behalf of the Union. At the end of that war, at the conclusion of that war, a set of amendments to the Constitution were passed. By the way, I know there's some talk today about the ERA being another amendment to the Constitution. I don't really understand how that's legal because that's not really how the Constitution says that what you need to do to pass amendments, but that's neither here nor there. That's another conversation. I will just say this. There were actual amendments to the Constitution added after the end of the Civil War in the specific way that's laid out in the Constitution to add amendments to the Constitution. Okay. So they're there and they're there to this day. And those amendments did a few things. It gave what we call now birthright citizenship. And that was given to be able to provide the ability for those enslaved Africans who had given so much to this country, not only centuries of free labor, but their lives and their fighting power, which turned the tides of the Civil War. It gave them actual citizenship in the nation, because prior to that, as you might recall, the original Constitution classified those of African descent as 3/5 of a human being. So it is because of that constitutional amendment that African Americans are citizens in this country. Number one, okay? In addition, another amendment to the Constitution also provided rights to at least men at that time. Black men were extended the franchise so they could vote, all right? And so for a period of time, they voted. We had economic power. Black men at least were able to vote. Women still couldn't vote of any race, okay? But Black men were able to vote. And you ended up having Black men serving and elected officials all across the country, all the way up to serving in Congress and even serving as a governor uh, prior, during the Reconstruction period. Now, I will say, where there is Black advancement, there is always what? White backlash. You can count on that. It's just as predictable as clockwork. Okay, it's predictable. Just predictable is as predictable as a pendulum. Okay, when it swings one way, best believe it's gonna swing back the other way. Okay, because some folks just cannot stand to see opportunity extended so that they will actually have to compete against all of the population. Some people want to be able to have the ability to compete only against a very small portion of the population, and then call that an opportunity to show who's qualified or not. Well, when you don't allow everybody to compete, how the fuck do you know who's the most qualified? But then again, that's a whole nother conversation. So what I will say here is, okay, as a result of this, and I'll stop sharing my screen now because people probably listening to that and saying, what's going on? Okay. Here's what happened. Oh, I will. Thank you. I definitely will accept your connection. Hey, good evening. So here's what happened. You had that happen for a period of time. And then there was, guess what? An election. And similar to the election that we just had, it was a very, very close election. And as a result of this very, very close election, there was a deal made among the electors. You know how we have the very interesting system here in America where we have an electoral college. Well, yes, we had it back then too. And there was a deal made in the electoral college to get Rutherford B. Hayes elected. He agreed in exchange for the support of the South to pull the Union Army out of the South. Basically, they were there to enforce the changes that they made, things like making sure that Black people had access to an education in terms of public education, making sure that we had access to the Freedmen's Bureau, which was for once allowing them to get compensated for their work. And it was supposed to really be able to help them get on their feet. Once he agreed to pull out the Union troops from the South, all hell broke loose. So as you can imagine, that's when we have what's called the post-Reconstruction period. In other words, this was the moment of white backlash. This was the moment when they started to put into place all sorts of shenanigans to terrify Black people, to murder Black people at will, to have all sorts of rights revoked, okay? So the way that they did that as it relates to voting was they put in place something called a white primary. So what that means is they put in place these laws, even though the Constitution said, right, that the franchise was to be extended to Black men, they said, okay, no, let's do something else. How about, we have our states' rights. So every time you hear people talk about states' rights today, you need to understand why Black people hear that phrase. And it's a very, the hair stand up on the back of my neck because I know what that means. It means they want to have the ability to do shenanigans. So when they're talking about states' rights right now, as it relates to women's rights, just know that that's a way for them to try to get away with shenanigans. We've been here before. I want you to know, if you do not know your history, you will repeat it. So what the white primaries did was they passed laws in various southern states that basically said that the right to vote was really only guaranteed to white people. And though technically Black people could vote because of the Constitution, they had to have some sort of test put in place to make sure that they were qualified to vote, to make sure they had the ability, like the cognitive ability to vote. Like that was their excuse. So they would do things like put a piece of soap there and say, well, how many bubbles can this piece of soap produce? That was actually like a question on the test, stuff like that, ridiculous things like that actually have no correct answer, right? And so it was never a test of true qualifications. It was never a test of true intelligence. It was just a way in which they could undermine the rights of Black people when it came to exercising their right to vote. And that stayed in place. Even after white women won the right to vote, you still had white primaries happening in the South. I want you to understand, hold on, I'm sorry, Instagram, hold on just a quick second. I'm getting a call here. Let me see if I can go to, whoops. I think I pushed the wrong thing. Hopefully you're back there. Okay, you still with me? Okay, hopefully you're still with me. Okay, so here is what happened. I'll be quick here. Here's what happened. All right. So ultimately, we know that those tests were not, the issue was never qualifications. The issue was never were people smart enough to vote. It was just an extra barrier that was put there to create a situation where only white people can vote. So fast forward a few years. Okay. You can't hear me? Can you guys hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. Let me know on Instagram if y'all can hear me now. Okay. Put a little thumbs up in the comments if you can. Fast forward a few years. Ultimately, we had the Civil Rights Movement. We got the 1964 Civil Rights Act. We got the 1965 Voting Rights Act. We had the ability to vote, right? But still, there were lots of other examples of where there were similar inhibitors put in place where opportunity wasn't extended to us. Okay. There's a whole bunch. I do not even have time in this live. Maybe I'll do another one later where I go into more depth about other ones that specifically deal with our ability to amass wealth, like home ownership and things, and what the federal government did even in terms of really putting up rules and restrictions that made it difficult for us to be able to buy homes. And then for those of us who were able to buy homes, putting in place policies that they utilize eminent domain in order to take away our homes. I mean, it's so much stuff that's happened. But I will say this. In terms of employment opportunities, you still had a lot of things kind of like that, where Black candidates were not even, given a chance to apply. There was all sorts of extra barriers put in place, all of those things. And so that is why we have a lot of the programs that came to be later on, like affirmative action. And even when it comes to other institutions like the NFL. The NFL for many years. I mean, now you're seeing quite a few Black coaches in the NFL, but for a long time, there were none. And so there was something instituted called the Rooney Rule, for example, that said that every time that you're hiring for a coach, you need to at least interview one person of color. And I think it's now been expanded to one woman. All right. It sounds like to me, in terms of what Meta had in place, it sounds very similar to that, to the Rooney Rule. Okay. Because what it's saying here is what they ended was a program that had them at least consider a diverse slate of candidates, qualified candidates from underrepresented groups for open roles. The Rooney Rule never said you interview unqualified people. It just said you need to make sure that your list of qualified people includes some other people besides white men. Looks like what Meta is going to do now is openly say, I mean, they're just playing it out in faces now. They're just taking the hoods all the way off, okay? Taking the hoods all the way off. And they say, well, right now, we're not even going to do that. So we're just really going to, this is tantamount to saying this is their version of a white primary, except it has to do with employment opportunities. Okay? Absolutely. Exactly right, Erica. So why do I bring this history up? Because we are seeing it right now, but in a much broader way. Well, it's still happening even with voting, you guys. I have to say, right after Obama was elected, there was a court case that went through the Supreme Court that was meant to nullify, in essence, the Voting Rights Act, which actually the Supreme Court did that. And within less than 24 hours of undermining the Voting Rights Act, you had all sorts of states, particularly in the South, but some in the Midwest too, completely change a lot of their voting rules to make it more difficult for Black people and young people to vote. So if you ever wonder why, for example, in America, you see these really long lines in precincts where it's a majority Black neighborhood, and then in white neighborhoods, people can run in and run out and they can vote and they're done in like 15 minutes. That is not by accident. That's not by accident. It's because it's a calculated decision, for example, to put less voting machines in those spaces. All right. So these are all examples of ways in which the extra burden that's placed on Black people and other people of color is very, very evident. And now it is becoming, we're getting to a place where, boom, we are seeing it in a very brazen way when they're saying, hey, we're not even going to try to interview qualified Black people or other people of color, or even women, I guess, if they're going to put them under the diversity rubric. Okay. So I say all that to say that's just one example. As I said the other day, I'm sure this also extends to contracting opportunities with them. I'm sure that when, Mango Mussolini gets in, that was one of my favorite ways I've heard referred to him. That's also going to extend to government contracting. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So why am I continuously harping on this? Because it impacts you. It impacts your ability to provide for your family. It impacts your ability to grow a successful business. It impacts your ability to get employment and to get employment at more, more elevated levels. Like that, all of that is going to impact your bottom line at the end of the day. And so, number one, if you do have a job right now, especially in the federal government, they're going to come in. I'm telling you this, they've already said they're going to come in and get rid of a lot of federal employees. And given what I just showed you, it's not going to just relegate itself to the federal sector. Be careful in the private sector too, if you don't happen to be a white man. Now, what's really interesting to me is that they seem to be stuck on stupid with this thing about qualifications. So let's talk about qualifications for a minute. You all just mentioned, you all just probably noticed everything that was happening with some of these hearings that's going on for the people that are being considered for the Trump cabinet. Let me give you an example. If we're going to talk qualifications, let's talk qualifications. What are you doing tonight? We need nationwide virtual summits on our history since it's not taught in schools anymore. I would pay and have my kids to attend and listen and teach them more exposure. Murphy, should I return the contract? Yes, you should. Here's the thing I want you to understand. If you have a JOB right now, please do not let that be your only source of income coming into your house in this moment. If you don't have a side hustle of some type, get one. If you have a side hustle and you've just been playing around with it and acting like, when you feel like it, you're going to do something with it, get serious about it. Do not allow this man to have full control over your financial life in this moment. And then if you have a business, we're going to have to start thinking more creatively about how do we navigate this moment. Because here's the thing, it's a perfect storm for us. Not only are we dealing with an economy that's, it's good, but also it could be better. But at the same time, we're dealing with a hostile environment that is specifically targeting our community and going backwards in terms of the extension of opportunities. So I want you to know that we need to think about things differently. And this is exactly why, for example, I am having Evolution Revolution 2025. You are going to have to evolve. You're going to have to start doing some things differently. We're going to have to start working strategically together and individually. We're going to have to start really facing the reality of what is happening in this country and preparing ourselves for it. And listen, we have to start being proactive about this instead of being reactive. That's why I'm doing this now. The last thing I want you to do is wait until you get the pink slip. And now all of a sudden you're wondering, what do I do? What do I do for money? And then you find out that there are all these other organizations that might be following Meta's example here and deciding that, okay, we're not even going to look at qualified Black people. Figure out how to do it yourself. All right. So listen, I'll say this really quickly, and then I'm going to get into some depth about it. But if you have not already signed up, sign up now. Okay. Please, somebody do me a favor, put it in the comments for me. If you're on LinkedIn, it is in my bio, but you can go to evolutionrevolution2025.com right now and sign up. It is completely complimentary. 5 days. I will be breaking down 5 areas that I know that you need to be focusing on right now in order to be able to best be prepared to navigate this moment. Okay, here they always. You're exactly right, Erica. So, for example, I'm going to be talking about how to really get in touch with the power within you. Here's the thing: I am very, very. This is what I believe. How many of you have heard the phrase "truth to power"? You have to be willing to speak truth to power. Okay, I love that. We need to speak truth to power. I agree with that. But you know what? That's not enough. It's not enough in this moment to speak truth to power, because let's just get real. Everybody done told you, Elon done told you, Zuckerberg done told you, they're not doing any fact checking. So it's going to be even that much harder for people to understand what the fuck truth is. That is for real. So instead of relying on speaking truth to power only, how about we focus on harnessing and bringing our own power to combat power? It's not just about speaking truth to power. It's about bringing power to combat power. Is anybody feeling me on that? Is anybody feeling me on that? So what I'm suggesting is we have to think about, how do we amass power? And for me, power, one of the key ways in which I know we need to amass power is through our economic well-being. Now, we already have collectively a lot of power, but it's not leveraged correctly because it is dispersed. We need to figure out, how can we leverage our own power and grow it economically and otherwise. All right. And so this is part of what I'll be talking about on day 1 of the Evolution Revolution 2025. First and foremost, you got to recognize the power within you. Then we have to think strategically about, how can we leverage power collectively and help each other rise at the same time in terms of our economic well-being, right? So that's day 1, power to power. What's up, JR? Oh, no. Enjoy your speech, John. Secondly, value-driven visibility. You have to not be hidden. You have to not be hidden. People need to see you, especially if you have a business. You need to be seen. But even if you don't have a business, say that you have a cause, say that you run a nonprofit, say that you're looking to make change in other ways. If people aren't hearing your message, what kind of a difference are you making? Third, we're going to talk about, and I've been really thinking about this deeply, you guys. I'm thinking about this more deeply every day. I'm sort of refining the ideas around this. I used to say that I was going to be focusing on camera mastery. I'm not. I'm going to focus on camera influence. How can you leverage on-camera appearances to influence others? I want you to understand this is a big part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in right now, because Others have become very, very, very adept at this. So we need to understand how to leverage influence on camera in order to either create change if you're a nonprofit and you're looking to create change in that way, or create customers if you are an entrepreneur and you're looking to be able to grow the success of your business. If you do this right, for example, in that entrepreneurial lane, you're going to be able to attract opportunities to you, and you're going to be able to more easily close the opportunities when you finally get to those spaces in which conversion is possible. All right. We're going to be talking about how you need to lead and not just follow. Once again, I'm talking about being proactive in this moment and not just reactive. How do we engage and start the conversation, start the activity, and not just respond to crises as they flare up? Hello? How do you be seen? How can you be seen as a leader in your area of expertise? And how does that then impact your ability to both create change in the world, but also, big bucks in your bank account? Like, all of that is necessary. Hey there, greetings from Chicago. Great. DJ Contraction, don't only take notes here, sign up. That's kind of like don't boo, vote. Okay. Don't only take notes here, definitely take notes here, but also sign up. Okay. Evolutionrevolution2025.com. I'll be going into much more depth there. Okay. And then most powerfully, you guys, how do we engineer a curated community? We get further together. This is about creating the type of power pack network that will help you to be able to both have more success in your business, but also this is about circulating the dollar within the community over and over again. It's not that we don't have money, it's just the money does not circulate within, right? So how do we create a powerful network that will both allow us to circulate money within, but also allow us to understand when opportunities exist outside? How can we make sure that we help each other get those opportunities? The answer to this challenge is not going to be by, a gazillion individual actions. It's going to be about us working together powerfully and strategically. Right? So that's a big part of it. And I want you to know right now, when you sign up for evolutionrevolution2025.com, when you sign up, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to start immediately creating community. Okay. Now, this is brand new. I will say that this is this is a brand new concept. I wasn't planning. This is not something that I, was thinking I would do. I saw the need for it and I'm doing it. Okay. So I haven't had the most time to prepare everything. That said, right now we are still utilizing for Facebook, for example. And that includes a Facebook community where we are using at this moment for us to connect with each other. So what I'm saying is that you don't even have to wait until the training to start building community. You don't even have to wait until the training in order to start growing your network. You don't have to wait for the community, for the actual training to do that. Okay. It starts immediately when you go ahead and sign up. Make sure that you put all the dates on your calendar. We have a button for that on the thank you page. And then from there, there's another button that takes you right to the Facebook group. Go ahead and get in now, because we have everybody in there right now introducing themselves and making connections. The next stage of our battle is not going to be individual ascension. It's going to be collective domination and individual domination. Okay. But we go further together. What is that African proverb? If you want to go fast by yourself, if you want to go far, go together. I don't even think you can go fast by yourself anymore, honestly. Not in this environment. Not in this environment where there's being booby traps set for us everywhere. We have to do this thing differently. And part of that means we have to build community in a very powerful, strategic, and curated way. Um, exactly right, Veronica. You're exactly right. She said, "That's okay, Dr. Avis. In these times, we will be doing things on the fly. We got to be nimble. I would rather do it on the fly rather than wait until everything's perfect and then God knows when it would happen, which would be never because there's no such thing as perfect. So you just got to do it and improve along the way. Okay. So we're not going to be there forever. I promise you guys, but that's just where we are now because that was the quickest way to get this thing together. Okay. Now, I say all that to say too that it also occurred to me the day I was thinking too small because though I believe that economic power is critical, which is why I'm focusing a lot. I was focusing a lot of this training really on entrepreneurs and still am in terms of how you can use these various different concepts that I just gave you to be able to grow your business even in hostile times. But I also want to make sure that if you are someone in the social justice space, you need to be here. You need to be in here. Nonprofit space, dealing with community in any, powerful capacity, you need to be in here because you need to know these things too. You need to know how to be able to influence on camera, right? You need to know how to be able to really be able to leverage your visibility online in a way that will help you once again be able to create the influence that you want and also to be able to capture the attention of funders because just like for-profit organizations, just like businesses, you need money to do what you do. Yes. And whether or not that money comes from individuals in terms of donations or comes from foundations in terms of donations or grants or whatever that is, you are more likely to get it if they already know who you are and respect who you are and see you as somebody that's an organization that is valuable, right? And when you are able to position your organization like that, you're also better positioned to get no non-compete opportunities. All right. So I don't care what lane you're in. I don't want to limit this. As I'm thinking about what this is and what I'm creating for us, I think, like again, well, I'll just say again, I think I was thinking too small. And so I want to make sure that you understand that if you are in that space, you are welcome to join us as well at Evolution Revolution 2025 because you too will have to evolve in this new, more hostile environment in order for your organization to survive. Just like entrepreneurs, we're going to have to evolve in order for our businesses to survive. All of us are dealing with the same challenge. And as someone who has a background both in the social justice space and in the entrepreneurial space, I think I can help you on both accounts. Okay? Now, so in other words, I'm here for both change makers and for money makers and for change makers that want to make money and vice versa, and make money makers that want to make change. Okay. Because these concepts apply to it all. I'm going to say this and then I'll get off because I was supposed to take that call that came a few minutes ago and I didn't. Okay. Here's what I would say. In all seriousness, I'm smiling, I'm joking, and part of it is I'm doing it because I refuse to allow them to take my joy. I refuse to allow them to steal my joy. But I want you all to understand the gravity of this moment. Don't take my smiles, don't take my jokes as I am an indicator that I am not taking this moment seriously. I'm taking it damn seriously. I don't know that I am properly conveying to you all how seriously I take this moment. My grandchildren will read about this moment in history books. That's how seriously I'm taking this moment. And by the way, I don't have grandchildren yet. And this is not, if my kids are watching, I have 2 sons. I don't want to have any anytime soon. But I will say this, I'm just saying hypothetically. All right. But what I want the history books to also reflect is what we do in this moment to change the game, to flip the script, to let them understand that they tried it. You tried it. But guess what? We are more than conquerors. We are more than conquerors. I told you the history, but let me tell you this other history. We always fought back. We always fought back. Out of the ruins of the post-Reconstruction period came the Black Wall Streets. Out of the Black Wall Streets came the backlash of the violence and the burning down and the bombings and all the things that happened with the Black Wall Streets. Out of that era of terrorism came a civil rights movement. Out of the civil rights movements came the legislative changes that I mentioned before, 64 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voting Rights Act, policies like affirmative action, and more. And out of that came a generation of people who have taken advantage of the small crack in the door of opportunity that they provided and completely obliterated it. There are certain interests in this country that cannot stand how fucking amazing you are. And this is why this is happening. This is why this is happening. You're just too damn good for them to be okay with it. So they trying it. They trying it. But just like we rose in the wake of every other attempted destruction of us and took it to the next level, we will do it again if we are not reactive, but we're proactive. If we are not satisfied with speaking truth to power and instead are looking to bring power to bear with power, if we are ready to do whatever we can in this moment to fortify our families and our communities with the economic foundation and positioning that we need to be able to fight the oligarchy. Because that is what this will take. That is where we are now. We have to get real about the circumstance before we can properly address it. But I want you to know something about you. There is power all up and through your DNA. There have been centuries of attempts to obliterate you, and still you rise. It has never happened before. It will not happen now. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. It will take collective strategy, organizing, and implementation. It will take a focus on economic empowerment along with the work that so many of us are doing in the policy and social justice realm. But what I know is that we got to get the money too. We cannot allow those folks to be the only ones to have billions. We cannot do that. We cannot allow that. So any sort of reservation that you have about creating wealth and success through your business, because some people want to be brainwashed around the fact that, oh my gosh, or not even the fact, but the implication or the myth, I'll say is a better word, that, oh my God, you're a horrible person if you make a lot of money. Okay, so you plan to just leave all the money to horrible people? Or do you want to be the good person with it so that you can fund the causes that needs to be funded? So you can do the things that need to be done. So you can fight power with power. Are you hearing me tonight? If this makes sense to you, if this is moving you, if this is making you think, damn, that makes sense, then you are part of the solution. If you're feeling it, it means you're part of the solution. And it's time for you to join in this fight. Listen, a week from Monday, we're not going to let that day, first of all, we're not going to let that day overshadow what that day really is, which is the King holiday. But I want you to know that's really the final sprint. 7 days from that day, we kick off. Right now, you can join us at evolutionrevolution2025.com. Get in the Facebook group for now, okay? Introduce yourself in there. Connect with people, start conversation. Now is the time to start building the community that we will need to fight back. Does this make sense? There is power in the ballot. Absolutely. Vote local, vote all up and down the ballot. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Are there with families who have lost a child to gun violence in the South and West Side of? Oh, God bless you, DJ Contraction. That is wonderful. Oh my goodness. I am on Blue Sky. I am also on Fanbase. I'm technically on those, but I have not really started utilizing them a whole lot. I'm figuring it out, but I will start utilizing those more. Obviously, I was on Twitter before Elon bought it. And so I have a significant presence on Twitter. I have not unplugged because I like to see what the enemy is doing. Not really posting a lot on there, but I am monitoring it, shall we say, okay? But I was trying to go live on Fanbase today and had difficulty with it. I'm still playing with that stuff. One last thing I will say before I leave, if you guys are looking for an alternative to Facebook, I'm going to invite you to join me on LinkedIn, okay? LinkedIn has already come out to say that they are fully supporting their diversity programs. So definitely, I do see myself staying on LinkedIn, okay? Please join me there or follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn. I will be on there more and more. Okay. I'm already on there a lot, but I will be on there more and more. Okay. Especially given everything that's happened with Facebook. But either way you slice it, it's time for a revolution. And so with that said, one last invitation, please go ahead, grab your seat, evolutionrevolution2025.com, and I will see you a week from Monday. Now you will see me before then. You'll see me in the Facebook group, and also you'll probably see me here. I'll go live. I have to go to Atlanta real quick tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll get a chance to go live tomorrow. I may, if I can squeeze it in, but I'll be speaking in Atlanta specifically. I'll be going there for a meeting among Black women leaders, and we are trying to be strategic about what we need to do in this moment. I'll just say that. Okay. But then after that, I'll be back and we'll continue these conversations. All right. It's time for your evolution. And it's time for our revolution. We're going to make it happen. Evolution Revolution 2025. I will see you there. Take care, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.